breaking news today. Declan Rice and Arsenal, exclusive from David Ornstein. A bid has been put forward, 100 million plus 5 million in add-ons. For me personally, this is incredible. Take my, rivalry hat off and put it to the side. This is an audacious, outrageous bid from Arsenal Football Club. This is a statement. This is a statement of intent. Manchester City, Arsenal have both been going for Declan Rice throughout this, early part of the transfer window. We know Manchester City's bid was rejected not so many days ago. And we know West Ham have always wanted this 100 million pound figure, but it was always about who was going to put that serious bid on the table. Not add-ons, not installments, serious upfront cold cash, 100 million from Arsenal. For me personally, I would be absolutely shocked. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would be shocked if Arsenal's bid is not accepted within minutes, within hours, right? Tomorrow morning. I'd expect to see this bid accepted. This is exactly what West Ham have asked for, what they've wanted. And this is as high as you should go for a Declan Rice. As brilliant as he is, as great as he's been over the last couple of years in terms of his captaincy, his consistency, his qualities, and his trajectory, his potential. You don't bid more than 105 million now. This is the end game. This is the bid of all bids. And you have to give credit to Edu. You have to give credit to Arsenal because, they have been, watched in recent windows in terms of, big targets and, potentially coming out of massive fees and saying, listen, we're not going to overpay for certain players. And that at times, if you're going to get the best players on the market, you do have to get your elbows out and you have to pay the fee. Van Dijk's, etc., Liverpool, Alisson. And that's a club that try to operate in a very, calm manner in terms of they don't like to overpay. They like to, buy players before they're world class. They like to, operate in that 35 to 60 million roundabout range. And there's some outliers in Nunez and Alisson and Van Dijk, but that is where they genuinely like to operate. And Arsenal, roundabout being similar. But this is a needle mover type player. This is a player that comes in that can play in the party position. It's a player that could, even potentially play in the Xhaka position if it was to become a bit more defensive and the left fullback was to overlap more. And, small tweaks. It's a massive sign and leadership and guaranteed quality in terms of Premier League proven. So this is a serious bid. Now I want to see if Manchester City are going to match this because Manchester City had their own bid rebuffed. Obviously, their interest is serious. I don't really see as clearly what the need is for Manchester City to go for a Declan Rice like I see it for an Arsenal. Obviously, he's a quality player. Stacks up on quality for Manchester City in terms of adding to Phillips, adding to Rodri. They've lost Gundogan. It's an extra player to play in that deeper midfield position in terms of their box midfield. Maybe even as a centre back in the middle of a three. Maybe Pep could see that as a sweeper. Switch and play with both feet from deep. Maybe even as an advanced 8, as we know Declan Rice has been getting a few shots off and getting a few goals from distance here and there. Who knows what Pep was thinking and what he is thinking with Declan Rice. But Arsenal have made that move. And for me, this is the first big move. It was quite clear that both the previous bids from Arsenal and Manchester City were going to get rejected. We all knew what West Ham really wanted. The question was anyone really going to pay? And now Arsenal have done that. And, on top of moving for Kai Havertz, 65 million, on top of going for Timber from Ajax as well. And who knows, maybe they're not even done there. And that's with, very little money coming in terms of sales so far. So they're putting money down. And to be fair, that is what Arteta deserves. That is what this Arsenal team deserved from the performance of the season. Yes, they crumbled, they cracked, they dropped off at the end of the season. And it was clearly quite disappointing for Arsenal fans to not see that title race through to the end. But in terms of the overall season, this is a team that were the best team in the country for a big portion of the season. That's why the bottling, claims come out in terms of dropping off, being at the top of the table for 90+% of the time because of the expectation that was built, because of the quality of football that was played. So to be that good for that long, it tells you that you have to invest, you have to back your manager, you have to give him money and you have to give him the opportunity to spend to catch up to a Manchester City and close that gap. That is what Edu has done with this bid. You have to give it to them. I wasn't too sure if they were going to make a bid like this. I'm not going to lie. This is a very un-Arsenal bid. It's a very un-Arsenal bid. This is more of a Chelsea, Manchester United type bid in terms of, the amount of money we're talking. but Arsenal have put it together. They put the package together. And from my understanding personally, and I think this is still the case, I think Declan Rice still wants to join Arsenal. That's his slight preference, even though Manchester City, of course, are the better team right now, are the winning team right now in terms of staying in London, in terms of, speaking to Arteta behind the scenes, being a massive part of this project since January. Really, talks have been going on behind the scenes between Arsenal and Declan Rice. I think his slight preference is if Arsenal do put the bid together, he would like to go there. People will raise their eyebrows and say, I've seen Dan Lawless, big up Dan Lawless, on this very channel. Why would Declan Rice go to Arsenal? Why would he not go to Man City? Man City deliver you trophies. Now, listen, you can win trophies at Manchester City. They've just done a treble, 100%. But there is something in going to an Arsenal team that are on the cusp of potentially winning big trophies. I'm hoping, that they don't. Do you know what I'm saying? Of course. But they're on the cusp. They are making moves in the right trajectory to try and do that. And to do that in an Arsenal team that haven't done it for, major trophies, we're talking about 2 decades now. It's just been FA Cups. That is going to live longer in the memory than potentially going to a team that has just done a treble. Of course, you're going to get your trophies, you're going to get your flowers, you're going to get your credits and credentials. But in terms of actually doing something that is really memorable and puts a mark in football, bringing a Premier League to Arsenal if you're Declan Rice, or going to the latter stages again of the Champions League, etc. That is a big thing to do. And potentially, there's nothing to say that in terms of, leadership-wise, he can't go right to the very, highest ranks of this Arsenal pyramid scheme in terms of leadership, in terms of, authority, because he's captained West Ham to the Conference League in what has been a very difficult season for them. They've struggled most of the season. They've been dropping off in the Premier League from, Conference League positions the year before, Europa League positions, to a relegation scrap for the majority of the year. But they've led by him, they've still managed to go and win a Conference League, qualify for Europe the following season. He has the credentials to potentially go into this Arsenal dressing room, which is a young team, which we all know, and go in there and be one of the key figures from the get-go. When you pay this kind of money for a player, he goes straight into the starting 11. There's no doubt about that. Now, what does this mean for the future of Thomas Partey? There were obviously links with Saudi, so it's going to be interesting to see if that materializes now. Arsenal do have to, of course, be careful of depth, because the whole reason for bringing in these quality players, or, Kai Havertz, etc., is because you're trying to add depth. You're trying to add, numbers to the team for the Champions League upcoming. If you start to retract and take away with your Xhakas and Parties, you might be potentially improving the starting 11, but are you actually fulfilling the squad depth as you need to? So Arsenal have to be very careful not to sell on quality players that they already have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Partey. Obviously, they signed Jorginho in January. What will happen with him? Would he be the backup to Rice, or will Partey stay? That is all still to be determined. But in terms of Rice going into that team, that's a massive needle mover, a massive upgrade. For me, a much scarier prospect than obviously Kai Havertz going there. Havertz will have to see. He's had a lot of underwhelming, inconsistent performances for Chelsea over the 3 years in the Premier League. Maybe going into that Arsenal team under a new manager, under a certain system in a different position, will enhance his capabilities. The potential was there at Bayer Leverkusen, but it's definitely a risk. And for me, it's an overpayment from Arsenal from what I've seen. But anything can happen in football. But with Declan Rice, it's more of a guarantee the quality you're getting. You're definitely paying a lot. Let me know, do you feel like they're overpaying, underpaying? No one's going to tell me you're underpaying, but overpaying 100 million, 105 million. Listen, it's a lot of money. We spent Enzo 100 plus, Bellingham 100 million euros, Tchouameni 100. This is the going rate now for top under 24 midfield talents. If you're a top young midfielder now who looks like you could potentially carry the baton from some of the greats we've seen in the last generation of midfielders, you're going for that price. Everybody wants to get their hands on midfielders in this window. McAllister going to Liverpool, those names I've just mentioned, in Bellingham and Enzo, obviously the previous window. Everybody, even Lavia, we're talking about Caicedo. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Everybody needs a centre mid. Some need two, but everybody wants to lock down these young midfielders and get them in the door, because they know that this is a very talented kind of crop that we've got right now in this position. Everybody is looking at the midfield market and thinking this is incredible. So this is an incredible bid. It's not done. West Ham have to accept. My hunch is that they will accept. I'll be shocked if I wake up tomorrow morning and Arsenal don't have an accepted bid to go straight through with personal terms. And personal terms are agreed with Declan Rice. So really, if this gets accepted, it should go straight to the medical. And if Manchester City don't respond, you know, if this is a rap battle, you got 24 hours to respond. And if they don't respond, then Declan Rice really should be an Arsenal player within a matter of a couple of potential days, right? Shouldn't take that long. So listen, I'm a rival and I'm not best pleased, but I'm gonna give you my non-biased take. This is an incredible deal. It's definitely a slight overpayment, but in football, if you want the best players in the position, you have to do that. And Arsenal have been, you know, criticized, laughed at, mocked for the Suarez deal, underpaying, couple pennies, you know, little 50p, £1, etc. Now they're going above and beyond. Sometimes you have to do that. If it works out, no one will care. So let's see what happens. I think this will probably get closed. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you smash up the likes. Let me know what you think about Declan Rice potentially going to Arsenal for £100 million. And maybe we'll say 105 just to be clever about it. Do you know what I mean? But listen, let me know what you think. And until next time, I'll see you guys in a bit, people. Peace.